Welcome to The View from the Summit, conversations with the world's top trainers, handlers, and athletes in the equestrian and canine sports. Brought to you by Summit Animal Health. Hello, everyone. Welcome to The View from the Summit. We have a wonderful guest. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Robin Benson. She's been a three-day eventer. She's ridden Western. She now lives on a working cattle ranch where she finds herself in the saddle a lot. Isn't that right, Robin?
We do love it, and pretty much ridden most disciplines out there, competitively and also we do work our cattle horseback. So it's pretty fun every day. It's a new adventure, and it's really exciting to be here with you all.
Well, today we have Tomas Garcilazo, and if you don't know who this guy is, I don't know where you've been. You've been under a rock or something, because this guy's been on Broadway. He's worked for Disney. He's toured Europe. He's been at the NFR, and I said 25 times when we were talking before, and he corrected me, 26. So he builds himself charro on the road. So maybe you can start out by telling us what a charro is.
You know what? Now I am with Summit. Yes. Well, my name is Tomas Garcilazo. I'm a native from Mexico City, and born and raised, and moved to the States about 30 years ago plus. And one of my dreams, it was to carry on with my traditions and share it to the world. Tradition, culture, and my sport and my heritage as a charro. Charro is a Mexican horseman that has skills with the rope and with the horses, of course. Here I am.
And how you say you're on the road? How many days on the road are you out of the year? I mean,
well, out of 365 days of the year, we're pretty much 280 or 300, and it's pretty tough and intense to maintain everything, vehicles, horses, and family on this with the extreme of the weather. It's cold, hot, humidity, wind, you name it, and it's pretty intense, but we enjoy what we do, and we do it with passion.
I mean, you just mentioned, right, all the heat. You travel 300 days a year, and you're not just traveling with yourself and your rope, right? You have, how many horses do you travel with? How many kids? Your whole family. And you go through all the states. You go into Mexico, you go into Canada, you go all over, and you're going through all the different weather, hot, cold, humid, everything, maybe sometimes in the same week or the same month. And so we thought it would be great today if you could share. I mean, there's endless things you could share about, but caring for your horses, I mean, your horses are your biggest partner when you're in the arena, right? And how do you keep them feeling good with all of these variables, all of these miles on the road that you have to drive, they have to ride in the trailer? Man, that's a lot on your plate.
It's pretty intense because starting from the end, I'm going to tell you, last few days, I think Sunday, we were traveling all over the country, but just starting from this, Hollywood, my main horse got a colic, and it was pretty intense. He was in pain, but I think it was the extreme of the weather. We were in Vegas. We were in 117 degrees in Idaho, and then Vegas, and then we were there for 4 days. They were on the AC, and us like a little break, and then we came out and we come down to California, and we hit the weather about 105. And out of the Saturn, he got colic, and I was very concerned and worried because I think the change in the extreme of the weather kind of made him to collapse. But of course, I helped him, and he came back okay, and he's okay. But those are things that I never get colics on my horses. Pretty much rare, but sometimes you get sick out of something. No matter what, we're humans, we're not iron people or
not robots, right?
Not robots. But going through that stages, you're pretty much concerned about not only because the whole team is a family. I'm talking about my family are my horses. My family is my members of my family, the humans. But we all go through all these stages of differences of altitude, weather, you name it. But it's tough to maintain that. We always on the radar to maintain and checking all that stuff daily, because every day we gotta eat, every day we gotta check the weather, we gotta check this and that, and it is pretty intense. But we're trying to control that, being calm and cool, just to visualize that everything goes like when the way you breathe, off and on. You got to maintain yourself neutral, balance.
What do you do when you're on the road? Like, I know you have your vets at home, but when you're not at home, two things. What do you notice? Like, you watch your horses super closely, right? I know they're like, remember, they're your kids also. But what are some of the first things you noticed about Hollywood that you thought maybe he's colicking? And then do you have a list of vets that are in each area where you travel so you know who to call?
Not exactly, no, but I know I can refer to my vets in California, in Texas. But thank God, in the rodeo family or charro family, there's always somebody that can rescue on the road, or of course being sick, or you have a good references to go everywhere, somewhere that will help you. This is a big blessing that we have on the road too. But also we have a lot of, we spend a lot of time on the road, so you get a lot of contacts and connections, and that helps a lot. Yes, so
For sure. What were some of the things you noticed at first when you know your horse really well? What are some signs for people listening who maybe haven't had a lot of experience with colicky horses, don't know what to look for? What are some things that you notice first about your horse?
Their behavior, how they move, how they drink, or they poop, or they pee, or they don't do nothing like that, or they're pawing constantly, or they're trying to lay down. They lay down to roll their back, to adjust themselves, but sometimes they do it. Sometimes they repeat that once or twice, or they're still pawing, or they're sucked in by their rib cage, or you can see in their eyes that they're showing their pain with a certain expression and on their eyes. And so there's a lot of little things. I actually, as a matter of fact, I was telling Louis, my son, 9 years old now, to look on those aspects. See, Louis, the horse is in pain. Watch his eyes. Look at he's acting. He needs to drink more water. Watch him if he pees or he poops, and if he does this, or watch his reactions. He's trying to roll his back, it's because he's in pain, or he gets up and he goes back again down. All those things that are rare, you have to pay attention on those things and then come up to certain solution. If you don't have some certain solutions at that moment or experience, go to your vet, of course. But we have Bute, Banamine, or other resources or oil to solve the situation, for first aid, And so what did I do at that time? What I did, it was giving some Banamine, because you can tell when it's not a severe colic, but when it's you can come to the conclusion that is the weather, or he wasn't move around in the box stalls, and you came to a corral in the heat, and they get dehydrated on the road too, because it was pretty hot on the road. And so you put all these things together, so you come up to do something for them and just help them.
Perfect. So two things, there's so many things we could cover here, but when we don't want to talk only about colic, but dehydration, you mentioned on the road too, that's a big thing that can lead to colic or hurting the performance, or, muscle spasms. When you take a horse to different water, sometimes they turn their nose and they said, I don't want to drink. What do you do? Are your horses just used to it and they drink all kinds of water, or do you have anything you add in the water, or what do you do if your horses don't drink very well?
Sometimes we do some electrolytes on the road, and then for everyone, or sometimes you add a little bit of 7-Up on the water, or sometimes we put ice on the feed measure, just so they can chew it, they can drink, and they can play with the ice, and yes, they're still drinking water or entertaining themselves or keeping their mind busy. So because when they're stressed, they're focusing on one thing, and that stress they kind of consume their mind and go psychologically goes to certain. It's not that they provoke their pain, but that it gets pretty intense that they collapse. And of course, if I don't have much experience on this because it doesn't happen, it's very rare. Hollywood, maybe it's the second colleague. I don't remember the first one, but I think it's the first one. And yeah, I have some issues with my Andalusian. The Bolero is another horse that I have two severe colics. But thank God I was at home. The vets took care of him. That at the point that he has to be hospitalized for weeks or months. But now, so in the main thing also, you cannot prevent any colic. It can happen to anybody. But pretty much my horses are pretty sound, and everything is starts from the feed. Whatever you feed, and you got to be consistent because you go to different parts of the country. You have different grains, different hay, different water, and altitude, weathers, and all affects. Even my kids, they already got sick twice, and Justine has enough medicine, and sometimes we have a doctor around. We get their opinions, but yeah, it's pretty intense to maintain everything rolling. Not perfect, but right, even.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. So you mentioned the feed, that it's important to be consistent. And if you're listening and you have a horse, the old saying, like, don't just change your horse's feed overnight because they can get a bellyache, right? So you're traveling across the country. Do you bring all your hay and do you bring all your grain? There's no way you can bring it all at once, right? So how do you keep?
Pretty much what I can, we have Nutrina with us. And so we are part of the team, and also it's really, for us, it's been the best result on their digestion because all the quality of the grain that we feed of the horse for athletes or senior horses, and we're consistent. And something that is a big plus is that they have stores all over the country. For example, Tractor Supply the Nutrina. So every city they have Tractor Supply, and that's where we go all over the country. So it's a big plus. Alfalfa hay, we feed alfalfa hay and sometimes grass hay, but depends in the parts of the country. Some ones are good, some ones are so. So we are really careful about what hay to choose. And some people are not really concerned about alfalfa, straight alfalfa, but the horses are used to it, our horses. But everyone has his own criteria. But of course, I switch back and forth to grass hay, or like up north on the East Coast, they don't have much alfalfa. They have Bermuda or grass hay, and we just feed them, But as long as I have the grain that is the main, that gives more, protein and keep them stronger. So the hay is a balance, and it keeps going really good.
That's great. Yeah. And it is important, and that you can get it, in those places. So you drive long hours, right? They're in the trailer. How long do you keep your horses in the trailer before you take them out and give them a break? And I know we all like to have a fuel break or a pee break, but sometimes it's not easy to take the horses out.
I know. For example, I learned from some cowboys that sometimes you don't have to not even take the horses out of the trailer. Just to stop the vehicles, they're resting, because when they're in the vehicle, constantly they're moving and they're holding the balance, and it's tiring. But when you stop the engine, you just quit the running, they're resting. But of course, so we are loaded too. Also, the good part of this trailer that we have is insulated. So when you go in where the horses are, it's not too hot. And it's amazing. Outside is hotter than inside. You say, well, it's not amazing. It's amazing. Also, of course, we have the windows open, but inside the insulation is perfect. That we just open the main door, and the horses, the air goes in and out, and they're cool. They will in good shape. And of course, we water them. But sometimes, a regular tank in the track lasts maybe 5 hours. So it's when we stop them. But maybe we stop before 4 hours just to fill up the diesel tank. And of course, I have an extra tank, so I can drive maybe 10 hours and not stop. But no, now I'm more concerned about my timing, driving, and also for the family. And the horse, of course, we all are together in same boat. So when we stop, we water them right away at the gas station, and then we need to stop to eat. if we have a good place where we can unload them and tie them up and just rest, and they pee and poop. So I monitor all this stuff to see, even if you check their poop there to make sure they're healthy, because they might have a diarrhea, or it can come to a future problem, a little colic or not aching or something. So I always watch how much they drink water, how much they eat, their grain and their hay, and kind of keep them always on track, And the same thing as, how much the kids ate or drink. And so constantly you're monitoring everyone, and even the truck and trailer, what issues they have. It's a lot to keep up.
Yeah, for sure. It really is. So all this is before you even get to a performance. I mean, this is just trying to get down the road. And then when you get to a performance, you have to set up the stalls. Do you have anything special that you put in the stalls, or keeping your horses legged up, right? Do you have anything? I know we have Summit that you've been using to help your horses get down the road, but what do you do to help them feel good when they get off the trailer, and then keeping them legged up and ready to perform? Because you're not just driving down the road, right? You have to get off the trailer. How many days in advance do you try and get to a location? Do you give your horses a rest for a day, or do you show up that day and go in the arena, or how do you schedule?
For example, depends on the schedule exactly. If I have 2 days to make it to the next rodeo and set up, and I like to arrive a day or 2 days early, but usually so a day earlier, and hook up and put everything in place, clean the trailer where the horses are to keep the flies away, and then of course you got to clean the packets, the hay, the grain, and the tops of the water, and make sure the corrals or the stalls are proper all the way around for them not to, for example, Hollywood to take care of his mane. No matter what, if the horse stall is excellent, he find a way to rip his mane or tail or rub in somewhere, but it's tough. But yeah, it's not easy because the horse get also stuck up in their legs, they're swelling, and if it's a long trip, I give him some Banamine just to help him to handle the trip, and I unload him, walk him around, or rest. For example, my horses are senior right now, so they already know their job, so I just leg him up. I don't have to overwork him. I just stretch him and let him roll and trot him and lope him a little bit just to feel good, and that's it. The one that we have to work on is on the pony, because he's a young one and he has to get the age off, and Louis has to be on him, myself too, and just to tune them up a little bit. So it's less job on it's the pony. It's a less job with the old ones because they already know their job, and you just put them on track and they know their deal. And myself too, I don't practice much. I know what to do, but I support myself with some more rest and a little bit of stretching. That's it. Yes.
The old horse.
Yes, exactly. And you were talking about the if I rub the horse's legs. Yes, I back on track is I use for circulation on their hocks and their legs, and so they don't swell much on the trailer or in the stall. And those you can put them on 24/7. Some ones you have to put them on like 8 hours and that's it. But this thing we maintain the horses in the best shape that are thanks to back on track.
That's awesome. And then do you use Summit like every week? I know some people with performance horses use it extra, and you have all these different tools, and it's great to have the combination, right? Because you're demanding a lot from your horses. You're demanding that they stand in the trailer hours and weeks and many days of the year. They get out and they perform. So you have a pretty good sized toolbox, right, of things you use to help them stay feeling good.
A lot of stuff, because for example, we were talking about all the hassle, all the traveling, all the what's going on behind the scenes. People that don't see, people think that it's beautiful to be on the road just driving and doing the shows. Yes, the fun part is to do the show, but before and after is 24/7, and it's very intense. And thanks to Summit Max, my horses are in great shape, and I depend on that for them and C4S for myself. And I have to brag on this product because they're really working on us. They're keeping us on the road. If these horses start limping or doing something wrong, they wouldn't be on the road. Of course, because it's visual. You can be criticized, you can be sued, or you can be mistreated or whatever, but they really, for example, I give him one shot a week and monitor him. And if the work is intense, I give him an extra one. And for example, we were in a production where we did opening acts. It was a plus besides our performance. So it was pretty intense, but we have to work many performances that we have to improve one horse and then the next one and push them a little bit more. And so it's when you really apply more Summit Max for them and support them to feel better. And of course, not only that, it's all the mains all day long and making sure they're feeling good, they stretch, they walk. You monitor them all day long.
Tomas, what is the difference, or what was the difference before you used Summit Max and afterwards? You've told us, but what was it like before? How did you cope with them being trailered and traveled and so much?
Let me tell you, pretty much Summit Max brought these horses on the road, because I'm talking about a year and a half ago, I have issues with them. And thank to Robin that she was monitoring me on the road, watching my performances on the clips that my wife put on Facebook or on Instagram. She was watching how I move myself and the horse performing. And yes, she saw something that I didn't see it. But after that, I saw what's going on, what was wrong with my horses. And yes, it was like a big wake-up call. Thanks to Summit and to C4S, we're back on the stage. And I'm telling you this honestly, because we have videos where we were about a year and a half ago about to retire one horse, and after a while the other one, because they were lame. They weren't feeling good. And when we put this stuff on them, I was very skeptical. But I saw the results and still skeptical. I saw more results and I still have a little doubt in the end of my mind. And all my doubts are gone. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm 55 years old plus, and I'm jumping the rope through it, and I'm on top of the horse, and I'm still riding in my best capacity, and my horse is the same. This a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I put him to the extreme to make him to slide, to spin fast, and do this and that, and I didn't want to break him, but I took the chances. I did it because I was kind of pushed to do these openings. I gotta do it successfully, not just halfway, because that's my job. And no, they came out of that, no pain. They're okay, and I'm watching them all the time, and not changing sides, but sometimes long trips when I unload. When at first I check if the horse start stiff or something, no, they're walking normal, they trot normal. I'm watching them. And because I believe and I trust deeply these products, Summit Max, that keep the horses going, and C4S for myself too, because I'm not going to retire ever, because I have little kids that
you have 3 boys now. You have to train. You can't.
So I got to keep on going, and how I start to stay healthy, and physically, that's the main thing.
Now you have 3 boys to train. You're not slowing down anytime soon.
I got one going, but there's 2 more to come.
There's 2 more. So there'll be four charros. There'll be 4 charros out there, won't there?
As you've seen.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She keeps it all behind the scenes, and she performs with you all too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she manages your internet for you.
Everything. So we are the whole package together here.
Tomas, it has been delightful talking to you. It's been just a pleasure. Robin, do you have any parting questions for Tomas?
I don't think so. We could chat all day. I mean, this is super fun. We're going to have to do this again, Tomas, and get you back on here, because so much fun to talk about you and all your years, your decades of wisdom, traveling around the world with your horses and your family. And it's really not just inspiring, but also enlightening to hear all of your tips and tricks and tools and mental fortitude. And we just really appreciate you so much for jumping on here with us and sharing your wisdom.
Well, I'm very thankful to be part of the team and to have that big support with these products. I mean, it's amazing to mentally keep going and doing good and trying to maintain all this going. Yes,
Well,
I love it.
You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen, from the old horse's mouth himself, Tomas. Thank you all for joining us. The View from the Summit. There'll be a new one next week, and who knows who we'll have on, but it will be someone that knows about horses or dogs. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And make sure you subscribe to whatever platform you're listening to this on so you can get notifications of the next episode. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Au revoir. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for A View from the Summit. This program is made possible by Summit Animal Health. Check them out online at summitanimals.com. Thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you next week for another View from the Summit.